Owners, it's time for your Flag News Update. A man has turned himself into the police after a shooting in downtown Fargo. Schuler Ferguson was arrested over the weekend and faces charges of aggravated assault. The shooting happened on Friday night in the 600 block of Main Avenue and left a person in critical condition. Fargo police are still looking into the incident.
So we have 13 cases of measles in Minnesota, and the majority of them are
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. Mr. President, I want to officially welcome you and First Lady Jill Biden to Puerto Rico. We're honored to have you here. The people of Puerto Rico are very grateful for your steadfast support and highly appreciate your visit, particularly as we recover from Hurricane Fiona. I must highlight that this visit is not an isolated incident. It is yet another example of your commitment to the well-being of the American citizens of Puerto Rico, which you, Mr. President, and your administration have demonstrated with concrete actions for the past 19 months. That support has included total collaboration from cabinet members in key federal agencies, as well as targeted initiatives in important policy areas such as education, renewable energy, and economic development. Now, in Puerto Rico's time of need, the Biden administration has been working closely with us since before the hurricane hit us. As I have mentioned to the president, FEMA's collaboration has been instrumental to our island's reconstruction efforts, and that has helped put our people in Puerto Rico back on their feet. My team and I provided the president and his staff with a detailed briefing of where we are with respect to the recovery from Hurricane Fiona and describe the challenges and opportunities on which we must work together. This is crucial in order to be able to efficiently provide our residents equitable access to essential services and achieve the resiliency in our infrastructure that we need. To that end, I have made a request to President Biden to amend the major disaster declaration to provide an additional period of 180 days of 100% funding for debris removal, emergency protective measures, and direct federal assistance. Right now, Puerto Rico is in a full recovery mode. Just 2 weeks after Fiona, 93% of Puerto Ricans have electricity and 98% have water service. We have been able to provide safe passage to all communities whose access roads or bridges were affected. And everyone who was housed in a shelter has either returned to their home or has been provided temporary housing. All 78 Puerto Rican municipalities were included in the major disaster declaration, and more than 800,000 residents of Puerto Rico have registered with FEMA to claim individual assistance. Our efforts to combat poverty are especially important after a disaster like Hurricane Fiona, in which so many vulnerable families lost their homes and belongings. Thus, I have asked FEMA to provide immediate access to the supplies in its local warehouses to our government and the 94 local non-governmental organizations operating community hubs on our island. On the other hand, we must leverage the recent advances we have made in the ongoing reconstruction due to Hurricane Maria 5 years ago. So it is crucial that all projects stemming from the impact of Hurricane Fiona be incorporated in our previous projects in a cohesive and strategic manner. In addition, since so much of the damage by Fiona's flooding was on our transportation infrastructure, we have requested that FEMA treat the reconstruction of our roads and bridges as critical infrastructure in its recovery policy. We also talked about additional ways in which the federal government can assist us in advancing the transformation of our electric system and achieving our renewable energy generation goals by 2050, consistent with the Memorandum of Understanding we signed last February with key federal agencies. This initiative will help us promote microgrids and distributed energy in remote areas, improve our power sector resiliency, and increase access to more affordable energy and cleaner air. Finally, we spoke of the need to prioritize U.S. Army Corps of Engineers flood control projects to mitigate further damages from potential additional storms. the Corps' ongoing or
Will have wind lightening up out of the south-southwest around 5 to 15, becoming light and variable overnight. With a few scattered showers possible, we'll have cloudy skies and a low temperature in the mid-50s, and we'll hang on to the cloud cover on Tuesday. Light wind, highs in lower 70s. Again, a chance for some scattered showers before it turns breezy on Wednesday with highs near 70. From the Skywatch Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Justin Storm.
Today's weather is brought to you by Summit Carbon Solutions. The ethanol industry is critical for the North Dakota economy and our farmers. Summit Carbon Solutions is opening new economic opportunities for ethanol producers and helping maintain a strong market for corn growers while generating millions of dollars in new property taxes to help local communities support our schools and hospitals. Visit summitcarbonsolutions.com to learn how this project is driving the future of agriculture in North Dakota.
Live from the PetroServe USA studio, it's the Chris Berg Show, your daily dose of truth to help set you free.
Holy cow, have you seen the state auditor's investigative report of the Office of the Attorney General? If not, you are in the right place. We're going to dive into it today. Let me make it just a really simple example of where this thing is going to go in this conversation. If you hired a contractor, would you pay them $322,000 with no invoices? So you don't have an invoice, but they're asking you for 322 G's. Would you send them those checks? I mean, that is so much just the tip of the iceberg that when we bring on State Auditor Josh Gallion, like I honestly don't even know where to begin. I'm going to kind of say, Josh, like we'll get to that in a moment, but how many of you remember the old Arsenio Hall show? Great show. John, thank you. He remembers that. And kind of one of his taglines, if you will, was things that make you go, Remember that? Things that make you go, So I thought, why don't we just start with one of those today? It's a Monday. The Bison won. The Vikings won. Heck, even the Packers won, right? So things that make you go, It's October 3rd. Anybody remember, and John, I'll ask you, anybody remember what happened on May 2nd of this year? May 2nd, 5 days and a month ago. 5 days and a month ago, May 2nd. That is the day that the SCOTUS decision to overturn Roe v. Wade was leaked. The leakers, remember the leakers? That's when the Roe v. Wade SCOTUS decision was leaked from the Supreme Court. Now, here's what's incredible. Justice Roberts was like, we're going to get to the bottom of this. Maybe they need Josh Gallion to step in. Josh, hopefully you're on and you're listening. Maybe you may get a call from Justice Roberts going, hey, Josh.
Hey, Chris, thanks for having me on the show.
I'm just kidding. We'll bring him in a minute, John. But they may bring Josh Gallion in to complete the investigation. Because here's the thing I think it's important for you to know. Josh Gallion had 90 days to do this entire review of the Attorney General's office in regards to this situation out in Bismarck, and yet we've now had 5 months. What's 5 times 30? 150 days. 150 days. There's only 9 Supreme Court justices. Each one of them only has 4 law clerks, and yet we have zero idea, zilch, nada, on who leaked the Supreme Court decision. I mean, how is that even possible? What in the world is Justice Roberts doing? I just wanted to start that with you today because as we both know, I mean, the news cycle is moving so rapidly these days that even when I asked you, hey, does anybody remember what happened 5 months ago? I'm going to presume 99.9% of you are like, huh? 5 months ago? That feels like an eternity ago, right? That's the day that this thing was leaked. And still yet, when you have 36 people to investigate, I'm actually going to ask Josh about this when we bring him on. 36 people to investigate, and we have no answers as to who actually leaked that. I mean, that was unprecedented. Never in the history of our nation has a Supreme Court decision been leaked to the public. It happened, and we still have no answers. It's just shocking to me. Things that make you go, All right, let's bring in our special guest because I honestly don't know where to even start with this report. It's so overwhelming. State Auditor Josh Gallion. Josh, thank you for the great work you're doing. We appreciate it very, very much. And I mean, look, I know this is outside your purview. If you want to plead the fifth, go for it. But honestly, how in the world can 36 clerks, that's all they need to do to investigate 5 months, and we don't have any answers on the leaked SCOTUS decision?
Well, Chris, thanks for having me on the show. I know that does sound surprising. If the state auditor's office was on that, we would definitely have gotten to the bottom of it. We have some amazing people that work here.
Oh, you do have some amazing people. I got to tell you, I mean, some of the breadcrumbs that you guys followed to put together this report, I was like, wow, whatever Josh's forensic guys are doing, like, holy cow, they did an amazing job. Josh, I got to say, so I went through the report, and typically I'm pretty good at digesting information and, being able to construct some questions for my guests. And I was like, there's so much here. I don't know where to begin. So since you ate, slept, and breathed this thing, I'm presuming for the 90 days that you were doing it, for the people that are listening here across the great state of North Dakota, Minnesota, what do you think is the most important thing they should know, assuming they haven't read it or heard much about it?
Well, we really dug into this, looking at it in 3 different phases. We evaluated the lease documents and the facility. We went through the construction, the contracts, the invoices, the payments, and then we also got to the emails, which the deleted emails was also a considerable part of this story. And in 90 days, with a lot of other major projects that the auditor's office has going on, we got to the bottom of all 3 of these and followed a lot of these different rabbit holes through. We uncovered what we call question costs in some of the construction process, the payments that you talked about.
Hey, Josh,
2 of them that we identified. Yes.
can I interrupt you, sir? I don't mean to do this, but because I think this is one of these things that maybe not many people were aware of or followed. So do you mind just sort of taking us back to the genesis? Because it was on June 29th, the Legislative Audit and Fiscal Review Committee did what, why, like what were you looking into here? And what was it wasn't like you just woke up one day and was like, hey, I think I'm going to look into the AG's office, correct?
Correct. So it actually goes before that. The Attorney General, Drew Wrigley, contacted me back in, I believe it was April, and had me March or April timeframe, and had me come into the office. They uncovered an issue that they had with a lease. And at that point, they didn't have a lot of details yet, but they were collecting the information, and I offered any assistance that the auditor's office could provide. And as they kind of looked into their documents, eventually they got to the point where they wanted to get the legislature involved. And Drew has been very transparent and very open with a lot of the things that has occurred. And so he approached legislative leadership and talked to them, and eventually decided that this was something that could be brought up in front of budget section of the legislature. And they then moved or passed this on to 2 legislative committees, the Legislative Audit and Fiscal Review Committee, who the auditor's office typically deals with, and I believe the Government Administration Committee also was looking into some of the issues here. But LAFRC, who we work with, on June 29th, as you mentioned, actually requested that the auditor's office do an investigation into this. And that's when the 90-day window started.
And this all happened because Liz Brocker, the former administrative assistant of the Attorney General's office, called you and said, hey, I think we should do an investigation, correct?
No, that would not be correct at all. We tried to reach out to Ms. Brocker and the former Deputy Attorney General. Neither one of them would come in and sit down and visit with us.
So I know you're not in the world of speculation. And what should the people of North Dakota extrapolate from the fact that, and people aren't aware, Liz Brocker was the assistant to Wayne Stingham for I don't know how many years, but for a long, long time. She's the one that I think maybe you want to put this out there, Josh, but right after he passed away or the very next day, hey, be sure and delete his emails. Is that fair?
That as far as we understand, that is the timeline. It was very soon after Wayne's passing that they requested his email account be deleted, which I find personally that's unusual. And I've told the people that I work with in the office that if I pass away on the job or in office, please don't delete my stuff right away.
Gosh, I don't want to put you in a position of speculation, and so go where you want with this. But why would she do that? Do you think?
I'm not sure. That's. I've heard some of the different stories, that Wayne kept a lot of things, but to me, that shouldn't be a reason to delete anything. I mean, that should be, a reason to keep them, actually, because of the history and the information there. I don't understand. And I don't understand why ITD drug their feet in trying to get somebody to uncover these or see if Microsoft could bring these back, or if they truly were deleted. Because I think it was after we issued this report that they finally decided to get a contractor out there to do this. It was 2 days afterwards.
Yeah, they're hiring a
So
firm, Planter Communications or something like that, but they're also within your report. So what do you make of that?
So at the end of the report, when you look at the correspondence that NDIT had with Microsoft, there was this entity discussed. We never had any information on it, other than I think it is called Planet. Is the only thing that was capitalized. We didn't know what that was, but now, again, 2 days after our report was released, we find out that NDIT is now working with a company called Planet to try to recover these emails.
Now, is there any chance, could the legislative body and or Drew Wrigley, for that matter, or you somehow use a subpoena with Liz Brocker and or Troy Seibel to have them speak about what's going on here? Or is there any sort of legal action you can take?
For the auditor's office, at this point, this investigative report that you've looked at is the end of our work. However, at the last Legislative Audit and Fiscal Review Committee meeting, they did vote to refer this to the AG's office for further investigation. Now, Mr. Wrigley can pursue additional actions up to and including bringing in an outside firm to do the investigation, which I believe he has indicated that that's what he's looking at.
So I wanted to know, we're going to get back to this because I want to put some filler into the story to understand why this is so important, that the emails were deleted. It was suggested to State Auditor Gallion that they could not be retrieved, but then there was a person from Microsoft that says this, and I'm quoting here, "I want to make sure that we are crystal clear on one point. Just because an account is deleted does not mean that the data is gone. If you need to ensure the account mailboxes are completely removed, you'd want to dig a little deeper on your side to confirm." Remember that. We'll come back to it. But I say all that because if you would, Josh, now share with the audience, and we've got about a minute and a half here. We're going to keep you through the break, but some of the things that jump out here. I mean, I mentioned one at the top. I mean, 322 grand of money going out. There's no invoices, money being taken from law enforcement, the general fund. I mean, where do you want to start, sir?
There's a lot of different areas that you can look into. We can definitely talk about the lease breakdown. We can talk about some of the question costs and the payments. Why NDIT didn't act when they saw that information. I mean, there's a lot here, and the team did an amazing job putting together the information. This is a very dense report if you're looking at it with based on information. But yeah, we can start wherever you'd like to, Chris.
All right, let's start with the Frontier Contracting LLC. Does not have a contractor's license, owned by Jason Doctor, a state representative, also the former finance director for Wayne Stenjum. According to North Dakota Century Code, he needs to have a contractor's license in order to do the work, some of the work that was done on this building that he also owns. Is there, again, legal action to be taken to charge Representative Doctor?
Those types of questions I would leave to the Attorney General's office to dig into. What we looked at is purely the invoices that they had submitted to the Attorney General's office for payment. The total invoices that we could find was about $207,000. The additional payment that you're talking about, the $322,000, that was a payment that was made by the bank, the financial institution where they went to get the loan from. And again, in our review, we found that one of the commercial lenders at the bank is also part owner in the building. But this $322,000 came from the remodel loan directly to Frontier Contracting. We could never obtain any documentation as to why that payment was made. And the $207,000 in invoices that we do have, we consider all of those question costs, because in many cases, what we looked at is they would charge for carpet, for example. However, we have two other invoices from floor covering companies for the amount of square footage of flooring for that whole building. So I'm not sure where the additional carpet would have gone.
And this was all paid for with taxpayer money. Stay with us. State Auditor Josh Gallion. More coming up right after this.
Your farm and business depends on a reliable source for energy. PetroServe USA is the customer-owned co-op committed to being a stable source of fuel for your equipment and propane to dry your grain. We have the capacity to make sure you never run out of fuel and to keep prices stable. Dependability, competitive prices, and exemplary service. That's PetroServe USA, helping America fuel better. PetroServe USA. Call today.
The University of Mary's Ham School of Engineering, named after Harold Ham, our generous supporter and the pioneer of the Bakken Formation, prepares students for successful careers and fulfilling lives. We offer degrees to support the industry's most pressing needs and designed our curriculum with feedback from the region's most notable firms. The School of Engineering is committed to preparing graduates who are both professionally excellent and community-minded servant leaders. Learn more at umary.edu/engineering.
Both Mike Huckabee and Donald Trump agree you need to read Dick Morris's new book. It's called The Return, and it's already topping bestseller lists. Former President Trump says it's a great book and urges you to get it. And Mike Huckabee recently urged every American to read The Return. In The Return, Dick Morris explains why Trump, not DeSantis, must be the candidate in 2024. He even reveals the moves Hillary Clinton is taking to prepare to run against Trump. The Return reveals Trump's secret plan to win. Newsmax says The Return is the political book of the year. The elections are coming soon. Find out why everyone is getting The Return, an Amazon #1 bestseller. Get Dick Morris's The Return in bookstores everywhere, or check out the free offer from Newsmax and save $28. Just call 800-NEWSMAX. That's 800-NEWSMAX. Or go to thereturn911.com to get your copy today. Thereturn911.com.
Veteran and locally owned since 1932, Action Movers is North Dakota's largest and oldest mover. Whether you're moving across the street or across country, Action Movers will make your move easy by handling every detail from start to finish. From packing, loading, transporting, storage, or even do-it-yourself with a Go Mini container delivered to your driveway, they truly have every solution for your move, accommodating all budgets. Get a moving quote today and mention Scott to save 10%. Call them at 701-566-5532 or visit actionmovers.com to set your appointment.
If you have a kid in your family hunting deer for the first time, then the Red River Regional Marksmanship Center in West Fargo is offering free shooting practice. If your child is a first-time hunting license holder, they can come to the rifle range during regular hours and shoot free for 1 hour when accompanied by an adult. Offer good until the regular deer season opens in November, and they can come more than once. Certified range safety instructors are on hand during open hours to help and answer questions. Check for open hours at rrrmc.com.
Go on, take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run.
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, the fastest hour in radio. Whoosh, time flies when you're having fun because we are telling you the truth. And with that, we are setting you free. Liberty, sovereignty, that is what we talk about here on the Chris Berg Show. Join us today, State Auditor Josh Gallion, giving us a debrief synopsis of his recent investigative report of the Office of the Attorney General. There is so much here. It's a spider web. And so we're doing the best we can to make it simple to digest, simple to understand. And Josh, just, because again, as I mentioned at the top, that there's just a lot here if you haven't read it. So I asked my producer, hey, is this sort of making sense? He's like, it does, but it's also a little bit confusing. So if you don't mind, give us just your best, maybe 90-second, 3-minute synopsis of what's going on here. Then we'll dive into some more of the details.
Sure. So as we looked at the building and the owners of the building, it's under a corporation called Stealth Properties. And as we evaluated the owners, what we found is several of the owners were directly involved in the lending institution, part owners in the property manager that handles the company, and then they were also subcontractors on the remodel project. The remodel project, the total cost that we were looking at was about $5.5 million. Within the lease, the Attorney General's office was given an allowance for remodel cost and the new addition that they put on, and that was about $3.7 million, making that the Attorney General's office share of this project of $1.7 million. And so we looked at all of these things. We evaluated the information. We did identify some question costs. We evaluated the owners and all of the different individuals involved, and there are a lot of connections there. We also evaluated several of the payments and the emails. And so that's, there's a lot of information here. Again, it is complicated. There's a lot of different avenues to take, but it's our 44-page report. We pulled this off in 90 days to try to get to the bottom of as much as we could. And I think the team did an amazing job.
They did. If you're just joining us, Josh Gallion, state auditor for the great state of North Dakota, talking about his recent investigative report of the Office of the Attorney General, coming to you live from the PetroServe USA studio, helping you and America fuel better. It is a spider web, so if you wouldn't mind, Josh, maybe help people appreciate Representative Jason Doctor, who he is, and his ties to former Attorney General Wayne Stenjum and some of the other sort of just connections in the spider web.
I think, as you mentioned, he was involved with, I believe, some of Wayne's campaigns, but he is part owner in Stealth Properties. They're the property owner. He's also part owner in Parkway Property Management, who's the property manager for the facility. And then one of the subcontractors that we identified, he's part owner in the Frontier Contracting, which we have a lot of that information. It's all contained within the report. The other piece that I could add is the $1.7 million share of the Attorney General's office. Now, they didn't have $1.7 million. And so they scrounged around within their budget and their remaining appropriations, and they found about $1.34 million that they could pay. And some of that money came from law enforcement. Some of it came from the lottery, which we found unusual, because the lottery proceeds, the money that the lottery department makes actually goes back to the general fund. But what they wound up using is they use that money to help cover their cost share of this project. The other thing that I would point out is at the time that invoice or that amount was paid, the total project costs that they had accumulated to that point was only $3.6 million. And so they really made this $1.3 million payment as a prepayment, which the state of North Dakota does not do. We don't make prepayments. And so there's just a lot of information as you keep digging in that we uncovered that is very unusual.
So I apologize. There's just so much here. Josh Gallion, our guest, you mentioned 5.5 million, but then you brought up 3.7. A couple things. One is, so the 5.5, that was the total number for the project?
So at June 25th, when the property manager, who they kind of generaled the project, they gave the Attorney General's office the amount of money that they had at that point for the remodel and the new addition costs. And so that's what they used to base the Attorney General's office payment that they were to make. And so that $1.3 million that they paid, that was still about $400,000 short of their $1.74 million share. And so then what they decided is they'd renegotiate the lease terms to add that $400,000 onto the cost of the lease and pay that over the next 5 years.
So what's the $5.5 million for?
That's the total project cost for the remodel and the new addition. So the total project to get the space up to par for the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, the lottery, and the Consumer Protection Division, as well as the fire marshal.
Okay.
I think there's four or five divisions that moved down there.
And again, this was all taxpayer money, correct?
Well, it's all part of the lease, but the $1.7 million is the amount that is directly paid from the Attorney General's office budget.
Man. So I guess the big question is why? Because you dive into this, why the overruns, why the lack of what's at the root of all this is what I'm trying to ask you.
That's a great question, because as we interviewed the staff within the Attorney General's office, none of the division directors felt that this move was a good move. None of them felt that the office space was going to be adequate. In fact, they have about 2,600 square feet less than the combined spaces that they had before, and yet their out-of-pocket costs on a monthly basis, I believe, is equal or more than what they were paying. So they're paying more for less to be in a space that none of them wanted to be in.
Man. Again, just a lot here, but I would encourage you, because it's your money and my money, to take a look at Josh Gallion's investigative report that he was asked to do. We'll see what Drew Wrigley's going to do, and since it's been referred. I guess one last note, and I'm going to give you the last word, Josh. It says here that Jason Doctor stated the Attorney General's office approached him about this project, but email records indicate otherwise. Can you explain?
So in some of our interviews, and we actually did sit down and visit with Mr. Doctor on this issue, and he kind of told us that the state was after, approached him. However, when we started talking to the Director of Facility Management here for the state of North Dakota, and obtained email records, it was clear that Mr. Doctor was clearly trying to find a state tenant for the property. And what they wound up doing is they signed the lease for the space about 2 months before Stealth Properties actually took ownership of the building. And so they used the lease to secure the financing so that this private entity could purchase the property.
Josh, thank you very much. I know that you have to sort of walk a fine line here because you're just trying to state what's in the document, not speculate. So there's just so much for people to digest. Again, I would encourage them to read it. You can go to the state auditor's website. It's there. Josh's team has done an amazing job, using pictures and graphics, so it's really easy to understand and appreciate the work that they've done. I've got about 90 seconds left, Josh. I'll give you the last word. Anything else you want to add or share?
Well, I just want to express my appreciation with Attorney General Drew Wrigley and his entire team. They were very helpful and cooperative in trying to help us get to the bottom of this, turning over records, making available staff time for us to sit down and ask some difficult questions and really try to uncover some of these issues. And so, on my behalf, I just want to thank them for being as candid as they were in sharing. The auditor's office staff for their diligence in getting to the bottom of this. Was a real team effort. It took a lot of work, and really appreciate having the opportunity to provide some transparency and shed some light on this for the citizens of North Dakota.
State Auditor Josh Gallion, great work. Thank you, sir, for your time. We really appreciate the insight as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hey, wait a second, Josh, real quick. You still there?
Yes.
So I'm just getting a link here from KVRR. It says North Dakota AG Wrigley won't allow independent investigation into the deleting of Stenjum's email. So I don't know how this is from a while ago. So maybe that's changed. I got so much flying at me because of this, Josh. So I apologize. We'll see if that has changed. But again, thank you for the time, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Boy, it's a lot. I understand. And it's also very, very important. So I hope that you will take a peek at it, read it for yourself, and see if you want to reach out to AG's office. Drew Wrigley sounds like he's done a great job being very open and transparent, but it's now been referred to him, and we'll see if he's going to take that on and possibly take the next step. All right, there's some breaking news here. Cass County Sheriff's Office shares documents detailing investigation of inappropriate photos by a lieutenant to a deputy. I'm just reading this right now, cold, so I don't know exactly what this means, but we're going to bring in our great reporter, Ty Schoner, to give you the details about what's happening with this breaking news. Also want to remind you, if you want to email the show, thank you to Red Wing Shoes. You can email us at studio@chrisbergshow.com. Again, studio@chrisbergshow.com. And also check out redwingshoes.com. If you're a blue-collar worker, you're working hard, you want to get some customized work boots that fit your feet perfectly, go to redwingshoes.com. Again, that's redwingshoes.com.
We'll have a chance for some scattered showers and isolated thunder showers throughout this evening, with temperatures sliding into the 60s. We'll have wind lightening up out of the south-southwest around 5 to 15, becoming light and variable overnight. With a few scattered showers possible, we'll have cloudy skies and a low temperature in the mid-50s, and we'll hang on to the cloud cover on Tuesday. Light wind, highs in lower 70s. Again, a chance for some scattered showers before it turns breezy on Wednesday with highs near 70. From the Skywatch Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Justin Storm.
Hi, Lacey here with Precision Concrete Cutters. You've heard our ads about egress windows. They add sunlight, they provide an escape and add value to your home. All true, but I'd like to let you in on a little secret. You can add an egress window anywhere, even if there's no existing window. I know this because at Precision Concrete Cutters, we specialize in egress window installation and replacement. Precision Concrete Cutters, 701-280-7038. That's 280-7038.
You might remember a few things from years gone by. The TV shows we watched.
Everybody knows your name.
The video games we used to play. And remember when this meant you could get on the internet? Just like these sounds bring you back, our work, 50 years strong, carries tradition and nostalgia too. The best in office equipment and software, advanced business methods, employee-owned, locally serviced, keeping your money right here in the community. Online at abmnow.com.
The reviews are in. My coffee is a big hit. People absolutely love it. One of our listeners said, Scott, I've sampled a lot of coffee, but this one's different. It's rich, but also very smooth, low acidity. The finish is clean, and it has a pleasant aftertaste. Try some for yourself today. Go to mystore.com. Use the promo code Scott for up to 25% off. Your choices include whole bean, ground, coffee pods, light roast, medium roast, dark roast, and a decaf. Again, in coffee pods, ground, or whole bean, your choice. And guess what? It's roasted and packed right here in the USA. It's guaranteed, like all the products at MyPillow. Mike Lindell invites you to try his new product, My Coffee, by going to mystore.com. Mystore.com. Use the promo code Scott or call this number, 800-506-9028. 800-506-9028 or mystore.com, promo code Scott for the best coffee you've ever had, bar none.
One of the most heavily attended fundraisers will happen again tonight at the Hilton Garden Inn in Fargo. The annual Perry Center Fall Fundraiser, and testimonies from residents who can tell you firsthand of the mission of the Perry Center. Our guests also include Victoria Robinson, Stevenson Holland, and our mystery speaker. This event will fill quickly, so reserve your seats today. Go to perrycenter.org. That's perrycenter.org. Tonight, the Perry Center, a place of healing, hope, and new beginnings.
If you've had COVID-19 or some strain of it, you've most likely experienced cognitive dysfunction, otherwise known as brain fog. Hi, I'm Dr. Oliver Sirset, and I'm here to tell you that it is real. Brain fog isn't a medical or scientific term. It's a term used by individuals to describe how they feel after COVID. Sluggish, fuzzy, downright exhausted. For some, the brain fog lasts up to 8 months. Sirset has helped others, and we can help you. Sirset, relax, rebalance, reset.
Do you love working on cars but don't love your current job? If so, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Matthew Carlson, owner of Fix It Forward Auto Care. We're a family-owned full-service auto repair shop looking to hire skilled automotive technicians. With our state-of-the-art shops, great work environment with competitive pay and benefits, you'll enjoy a great job with a bigger purpose and a lot of opportunity for advancement. Visit FixItForwardAutoCare.com to apply. Fix It Forward Auto Care, the name you trust for car repair.
Fix it forward, auto care. You can call it another lonely day.
Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, the fastest hour in radio. Whoosh, time flies when you're having fun, which we always do here on the Chris Berg Show, because we're going to tell you the truth and then give you more liberty, sovereignty, and freedom in your life. We're coming to you live from the PetroServe USA studio, helping you and America fuel better. As you're out and about today, please stop into your local PetroServe USA. What's beautiful about PetroServe USA, there's a big article that came out today about 60% of Americans now, because of inflation, 60% of Americans right now are living paycheck to paycheck. And this is people that are making, 6 figures a year, are having a lot more challenges right now trying to pay the bills, right? More month than there is money. And one of the things I always like to give a shout out to Kent Satchering and PetroServe USA is that for years now, even through all this inflation stuff, you can still walk in there and get the 4 for $4. 4 items for just $4. A pizza, soda, a couple of cookies, all that for just $4 at your local PetroServe USA. All right, some breaking news here. And Ty Schonert is our great reporter at WDAY, Flag Family Media. He does an outstanding job. And so he sent over to us on Slack during the show. I'm just going to read the headline, Ty, and let you kind of take it, because I've not had a chance to read one word of this. This is all cold, but Cass County Sheriff's Office shares documents detailing investigation of inappropriate photos by Lieutenant to deputy. You've got inappropriate photos and quotes. I can only imagine where the story's going to go. What happened?
So a lot of details that there's a lot to talk about here, and there's a lot of names. And I'm trying to simplify this as much as I can. The only names you need to know right now that are involved is Lieutenant. His name is Lieutenant Tommy Ray, who sent the photos, and unnamed deputy. We do not know the name of the deputy throughout this entire thing as well. Jesse Johnner is also involved, but is more of an investigative process thing. And then there's a couple other names in here that are going to be somewhat important, but not too relevant in this conversation. The big one is Lieutenant Tommy Ray. Tommy Ray is accused of sending an inappropriate front-facing photo of his genitalia to this unnamed deputy in September of 2021. And there's a whole list of things that happened after that, but the important thing that that we can talk about that as well is it was sent on a county-owned government cell phone as well. And so that's another detailed investigation that we could talk about. According to the documents released by the sheriff's office, the investigation focused on the text message sent, along with a few other ones sent afterwards, kind of clarifying some details, along with Tommy Ray, who sent this to a male deputy. It was a male deputy that was sent these pictures, by the way. And a picture. It was only one picture, as far as I am aware, and as far as the documents talk about. And it was sent to a county-owned cell phone. It was the investigation was conducted by both Cass County Sheriff's Office and the Office of Professional Standards. And it talks about the picture that was sent, and it also talks about the whole process throughout the investigation. That we learned that these photos, and this is kind of getting into the personal life of Lieutenant Ray, so it gets a little hot in some of these topics. But basically, the personal life of Ray, according to the investigation, kind of talks about how he sends pictures to his wife frequently, and these things happen. And this isn't the first time he sent these pictures on this cell phone, but he would do it with his personal cell phone. Long story short, it kind of turns out that it looks like it was an accident. And that's what the investigation gets down to. And that's when the investigation puts on it, because if it was not an accident, then this can be considered a harassment claim, depending on that. The only thing that Ray is really guilty of is sending it on the county cell phone, is effectively what the investigation concludes. And that's really as far as it goes. He gets a written reprimand, and no other punishment is sent his direction beyond that. And beyond the promise from Johnner saying, if you do this again, there's going to be much harsher punishment coming, nothing else is done about this. The deputy that was sent the picture had many criticisms of the investigation. And he says this in those documents that I linked to you. And Johnner does a very good job, who, as far as I'm aware, he put together the document. He does a very good job of making sure that his concerns are expressed and are sent very well. Here's some of those concerns that I'm going to list. This is also in a conversation with State's Attorney Birch Burdick. He was also part of this conversation between three people, Johnner, Burdick, and the unnamed deputy. It was about the deputy voiced several concerns, including the amount of time it took to conduct the investigation, about 7 months or so, including the amount of the deputy also expressed fears the investigation would get swept under the rug because it was a lieutenant in the organization. It would impact future promotions. The deputy was looking to get promoted outside of the jail. Was another thing that was discussed in there as well. He also told Sheriff Johnner and Burdick he believed if a female colleague had received the image, the investigation would have been conducted differently and faster. The deputy thought it wasn't really taken seriously. He thought it was kind of it wasn't really a investigation that was done well. And he had several of those criticisms. Johnner responded directly after those in response. And he talked about how he believes that it wasn't really swept under the rug to begin with. And his quote directly, "I do not feel the situation was swept under the rug as suggested." And he stands by the investigative process. And the only thing that the Lieutenant Ray is only guilty of is sending it on the government-owned Cass County government-owned phone. That's the only real contention here. Because it was because of an accident. That's the big reason why there's a question revolving around that.
My question to you is, how did this come to light? Did the deputy go to Johnner, or like what?
So from my understanding, this entire thing came up because there was a conversation between Ray and an outside captain who I did not name in the story, but is also involved. And the captain they had a conversation, and that captain sent essentially an employee, I'm trying to think of the word, a write-up, an employee write-up to Johnner. And that's kind of where a lot of this started. But Johnner then spoke to Ray and also talked to the unnamed deputy, and that's kind of where this whole conversation eventually began and instigated, and that's where the investigations really began. And now, if you're asking why the media knows about it, that's a separate question. Apparently, there was an outside organization that kind of let a lot of people know about this, and I wasn't aware of this. But so, for example, Jay Thomas, I do news for him, by the way, if you all don't know about that. But he says that he was sent an outside email from a different organization that was not associated with Cass County, and says that that's where a lot of these questions are coming from. And in the release, in the first title of release, where we get the email from the Cass County and where all these documents are coming from, where all the information I'm sharing is coming from, they say that other organizations are asking questions about this from a previous release that were sent. And so they refer to that release. I have not seen that release, but Jay Thomas has. And other people have seen this in the community as well.
So if you're just joining us, Ty Shona, reporter here for WDAY Flag Family Media, talking about some breaking news. Cass County Sheriff's Office shares documents detailing investigation of inappropriate photos by lieutenant to deputy. I guess my question about how did this come to light? Did the deputy go to Johnner or this captain you mentioned and file a complaint, or
the deputy did not file the complaint? The complaint was filed by the captain because Lieutenant Ray, from my understanding, went to the captain to say this happened.
Wow.
And that's kind of the thing I'm not entirely clear on, but the documents do talk about it. And I can look into that further if you would like as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that if the lieutenant brought it to the captain's attention and yet the deputy saying, hey, the investigation's not appropriate, I don't know, something just doesn't quite add up in my mind. But
And
again,
that's
I
kind of
haven't
what I was
read any
talking
of
about
this.
too. The newsroom, we've all been kind of wondering what's happening here. We're not entirely certain if we have all the details. It looks like we have a ton of details, to be honest. an abundance of details. And if you go to the website, you won't see the details, but you'll hear about them, you'll read about them. But there's a lot of things to talk about, and there's a lot of info to sort through and gather. This is probably one of the longer articles I've written on the website when it comes to how much details there are on the website.
I guess the other thing, if I'm the deputy, I'm kind of like, look, man, I don't want an investigation. Like, look, let's just talk to this Lieutenant Ray guy. Let's put this thing under the rug. If it was an accident, then so be it. But like, I wouldn't want anything to do with this story if I'm the deputy, right?
The deputy also talked about how he thought these maybe were intentional and how it might be harassment possibly. And so that was another part of the investigations, whether or not the sending of the images were intentional. The image was intentional or not.
So the deputy suggesting it could have been intentional.
Possibly.
Let me finish. Thus, Ray goes to the captain, maybe to try to cut it off the complaint and go, hey man, sorry I did this. It was an accident. I don't want to create an analogy now because the investigation is not done, but very interesting.
The investigation, this is all over, by the way.
I'm thinking about something else. I was going to build an analogy to another incident here in the state. The investigation's not done there, but I just think it's interesting that this person went to the captain to suggest this, but now you're telling me the deputy thinks, hey, it might have been intentional, when the lieutenant's saying it was an accident, and that may be his way of kind of trying to get in front of it and say, no. And then it's just his word against his.
There's a lot of conversations too. The office that's outside of the Cass County Sheriff's Office talks to his wife as well about this incident, and she confirms that they send pictures back and forth between each other. And according to the lieutenant, he says that yes, this has happened on this county-owned phone about 3 times. He says approximately 3 times, but that's about the same language.
That's fair. Ty, great job. Thank you for coming in and explaining this to us.
Thank you very much.
Boy, I mean, talk about a show today. There's so much to digest, and you think, hey, go to North Dakota. We're just kind of doing our thing, and then there's all these other ancillary stories that are going on and piquing the interest of people. So stick around. When we come back, some new polling out in the North Dakota House race. Plus, I'm hoping we're going to have some sound for you on some of the games over the weekend. Some interesting W's and much, much more. As always, you can call into the show, 701-271-1100. It's the Chris Berg Show.
Hey guys, Ryan here from Dave's West Fargo Tire and Service. Did you know that we offer full-service automotive repair and maintenance, not just tires and oil changes? With fuel and vehicle prices being high, properly maintaining the car you have now is more important than ever. Why replace what you already have? Let us help you keep your vehicle performing in top condition. Give us a call at 277-8618, on the web at davestire.net, in person at 1225 Main Avenue East in West Fargo. Stop by and see us. Your car will be glad you did.
70% of your body is water. Does it make any sense to put bad water back into your system for your health? Hi, it's Scott Hennon here from my friends at Lindsay Echo Water. We have a full water treatment system in our home, a reverse osmosis system with mineral add back and a pH boost. It's fantastic. Some people are more worried about what gas they put in their cars rather than the water they drink. Make that a thing of the past for you. LindsayEchoWater.com. LindsayEchoWater.com or call 218-233-8655.
My part-time service in the Army National Guard makes it possible for me to be more for the community I call home. I'm a better neighbor because my service has taught me how important it is to be a team player. My training helps me in my classes when I give attention to detail to the task at hand. My service also allows me to be there for my community in ways others can't. I help my hometown recover after nature strikes. My service in the Army National Guard allows me to keep my country and those I care about safe from threats. I also work with a network of professionals that help me succeed. Also, the Army National Guard's education benefits make getting a higher education a reality. Being an Army National Guard soldier makes living and serving in my community more rewarding every day. Learn more about how you too can live and serve part-time close to home by visiting NationalGuard.com.
Sponsored by the North Dakota Army National Guard. Aired by the North Dakota Broadcasters Association at this station.
Proceed's Right Choice program this year is featuring Solo Stoves, the fire pit of the future. All fire, no smoke. Proceed has your future in mind, supplying great products at reasonable prices. Solo Stoves, ingenious product designed to last a lifetime, just like Proceed's partnerships are designed to last a lifetime. If you need seed, think Proceed. www.proceed.net.
Business owners, you know how important a high-quality website is for the success of your business, but how well is your current site performing? This is Jake from OnSharp, and I want to let you know about a new tool we created that will instantly scan your website and give you insight into your site's speed, security, and SEO. Run your company's free scan today at scan.onsharp.com, and you'll get a grade in each area, as well as actionable steps you can take to make your site faster, safer, and more effective. Again, that's scan.onsharp.com.
Looking out at the road rushing under my wheel. Looking back at the years.
Man, a lot going on for a Monday of the news cycle. Holy cow. I guess it is. You know what? It's October. We've been saying you now for quite some time. Just wait. We ain't seen nothing yet. October is going to get hot. And I mean hot. Early voting starting. You know, we're just over a month away from the midterms. Buckle up because the news cycle is about to get nutty. Welcome back to the Chris Berg Show, coming to you live from the PetroServe USA studio, helping you and America fuel better. This is the place. If you are a truth lover, freedom fighter, you're in the right place. If you don't love the truth, you don't love freedom, this is probably not the show for you. So stick around if you do, and we want to have some fun here in a moment. Then we're going to get to some really good feedback that's been coming in during the show in regards to this Attorney General investigative report, thanks to State Auditor Josh Gallion, but also, you know, it's football season, right? It's getting a little bit chilly out. It's football season. So it's always good to just talk some pigskin. Now, the Vikes picked up a W over the weekend. They were in London and ended up beating the Saints. Here's a little clip from that. We can-
Double doink! He missed it! Double doink! Double doink! And the Saints can go marching out!
Super producer Chris Larson, thank you for that. I had not heard that call, and apparently the Saints had a chance there to tie, and then ended up double doinking it off the post on the field goal. So there you have it. By the way, John or Chris, if you can find out who's playing tonight for Monday Night Football, let me know. And then here's Hunter Lupke with just an incredible catch. They played Youngstown State. It was homecoming. Bison pick up another W. I mean, Hunter's definitely going to the show. The guy is just an absolute beast. If you didn't see the Arizona game, holy cow, did he put on a show.
1 yard to Lipke. It's 2nd and 9. Little play action here. Miller wants Lipke deep. Caught it.
Oh!
Out of bounds. They're going to mark him at the 2-yard line. almost a carbon copy of the touchdown against James Madison.
Yeah, and Youngstown State was ready for this. This
Now,
is one of those plays that kind of try and.
I don't know if you can, if you've seen this, but Hunter does like a wheel route. If you don't know what that is, like he runs down the sidelines over his outside shoulder. This is a fullback running down the sidelines. I mean, you're lucky if a fullback can catch it just standing still and you put it right in his chest. Hunter's running down the sidelines, guy probably about a half a yard behind him, over his outside shoulder, and just makes this the guy's going to the show. The guy is going to the show. So kudos to Hunter for that amazing, amazing catch. Congratulations to the Bison. Somehow Green Bay ended up winning. I mean, they were just getting thrashed by the Patriots. Rodgers threw a pick six. It did not look good. And somehow they ended up coming back and picking up the W. So kudos to them. Let's get to some feedback that's been coming in regards to this AG report. So Janet says, so a legislator, Representative Jason Doctor, went to his buddy AG Wayne Stenjum to get the AG office to move into a building that Doctor wanted to buy. He needed a 10-year lease in order to show income, which to pay the loan that came from a Stenjum family-owned bank. One problem is, since the legislature is only in session every 2 years, the budgets are only approved in 2-year increments. A 10-year lease is inappropriate, possibly. Well, they can do 10-year leases if it's a government-owned property. So I think that's appropriate. It's just the fact that when you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars being paid out in taxpayer money, which again, there was a lot to digest for the interview with Josh Gallion, but the money that was being taken out to pay this was coming out of the lottery fund, which typically goes into the general fund. I mean, they were taking money out of law enforcement dollars to pay these overpays for a building that it sounds like no one even really wanted. Like no one even really wanted to go there as far as people that were in the AG's office. Doctor was going to collect money from rent as property manager and property owner, construction work that his company is not licensed to do. Yeah, it's a real mess. And this is why I'm hoping, this is going to be a tough call just because North Dakota is so small. I mean, if you want to just look at it from a legal perspective, I think it's an easy call for Attorney General Drew Wrigley to take this referral and take the next steps to find out and investigate what exactly took place. But because North Dakota is small, I don't know what Attorney General Wayne Stenjum is going to do. We shall see. Email came in as well from Sportsman Nate. Nate, always great to hear from you. Thank you for this. Says, hey, Chris, I checked out the POTUS Twitter account of the Joe Biden regime. This is stunning, but not stunning. Not one word of the hurricane or help for Florida. Only Puerto Rico is in the thoughts of Joe Biden regime. Unbelievable. Did I say Wayne Stenjum? I'm sorry. Thank you, super producer Chris Larson. Attorney General Drew Wrigley. I apologize for that. So, yeah, if Joe Biden is only talking about Puerto Rico, I mean, you got to obviously include Florida in there, but I think we all know why that's not happening. It's called politics. And maybe a better way to describe it, Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis. They're afraid of him running in 2024, so they don't want to make this. You just watch, and I've already seen some of the stories coming out. I wanted to bring this up last week. We just didn't have time, but just watch the stories that are going to be coming out of Florida very, very soon. I saw one over the weekend out of CNN, but they are now going to try to make it sound like Florida is just not recovering well. It's been a terrible job from Ron DeSantis. He didn't execute very well. The people are in bad shape. They're really going to focus on the minority communities. So just be privy to that coming out of Florida, and that is going to be, I'm not living down there, but 99.9% political. Political. All right, tomorrow's Tuesday. We're going to take a bunch of your phone calls. As always, number to call into the show, 701-271-1100. Put it in your phone. Save it because this is the Chris Berg Show. Have a great rest of your evening.